A wall.
The wall. Okay, and what else?
Trade.
Trade is a big, big word here.
Okay,
So
so
that's
June.
the trade deficit between Canada and the US, and how do you balance and maintain it?
Balance of payments between the currencies. Okay. I like where you're going. We have a stimulus for those that are still awake. I'll take my G shot. I hear somebody that's like, what? Yeah, okay. Balance of payments. Y'all ain't Googling fast enough.
Oh, you see that?
We done passed 2 minutes. We gotta go to the next question.
They want replacement, they want to get the money in there.
Risk quarantine.
Peso to US dollar.
Peso to US dollar. For what? For what? What was the purpose?
Pay off the deficit.
Pay off the deficit. That's the answer in there. Somehow in the question, but no.
I can't say that.
Look it up. Look it up.
Is it this whole migration thing?
It's a straight out AML question. Straight out AML question. Everything is interrelated. Don't take the questions for granted.
Yeah.
Do not. I chose these questions for a reason, not for you to Google it and
So
just get the answer.
does it mean that Mexico is importing more from Canada than it's exporting in order to run a current account deficit? Is that what?
That's close. Because you just gave a definition of the imbalance of trade payments relative to what she said.
So the reason why you're making that an AML question is that it would be odd for Mexico to import more than it exports from Canada?
What does it have to do with the overall value of the currency?
Overvaluation, trade, exchange of goods. We just talked
to get US dollars or to get money into the country?
Correct. Which is both integration and placement.
The money laundering.
But what was the degrees of certainty? That's the question, right?
Okay.
But that's on Mexico's side. What's on Canada's side?
Weed.
Come on.
What's on Canada's side?
You mean the marijuana?
Well, it was actually not drugs.
Medicinal use and everything else.
No, it wasn't drugs.
No?
Labor?
Labor, eh?
Partially labor. And what else in financial? Fiat currency, right? Yeah, okay. So what else? On Canada's side? Because all Mexico got was the products.
Oh,
What Canada got?
the money.
It's not a regular question.
Okay, yes, they got the money.
Yeah, but if you're able to get imports.
What is the Canadian structure? And Canada always has a sort of,
It has a shortage of resources, human resource.
Right.
So they
So
need
they
human
wanna
resource from
import
Mexico.
They're always trying to import
get the
labor.
human resource
Hear
from
it.
Mexico, that
Yes.
would be an import, and that would help with the,
stimulus of the country.
yes.
Along with the shortage of the dollar, because the cost of exchange was higher for them, because they had to go through, because they were trying to develop cambios. I can let y'all look it up.
I see it.
Nah, they don't want to take the fun on it. That's question 10, eh? Make a note of that.
I was about to say that sounded.
We're recording, right?
Yeah.
That's fun.
11. If a company is liquidated, proceeds from asset sales are distributed to common shareholders. Which one?
B.
After secured debt investment. and preferred shareholder claims are paid.
Before unsecured debt.
The common shareholders are the last to get paid.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but the unsecured debt before it's paid, after preferred shareholder.
It's an interesting one, right?
Before
After
unsecured
then, shareholder.
debt, so, see.
But it might be C, because
Yeah.
unsecured debt.
I think they put the word unsecured in there to give you some
Yeah.
uncertainty, but
Yeah.
it's after everyone. Common is always after
I
everyone.
know, they always laugh.
If anything's left.
The answer is B,
Yeah.
but let's break it down. Let's get the candy working,
Okay.
right? Because I had some Asuka also.
Before unsecured debt.
You go speak for, you speak for.
Okay,
After preferred shareholder.
why did they have secured debt and then preferred shareholders? What is secured debt? Collateralized debt. Okay. Let's dig a little deeper. Why would it have priority over preferred shareholders?
Because you have claim. You don't claim it. If it's secured, that gives you claim.
Secured by what?
They own a building or something.
Yeah, something.
Some long-term.
What is the structure?
They guarantee it.
Guarantee, okay. That's good. What else?
You mean about unsecured debt?
Didn't it
Secured
just
debt.
Didn't it be a tangible asset? It could be,
A
it could be a
tangible-
guarantor.
Cash or.
We are still in the class of guarantee.
Right.
Unlimited, could be limited, unlimited.
Which one?
It's probably guaranteed by
Yeah,
the
so they have
shares.
claim to the underlying asset.
Yeah.
What is the structure of the claim? What is the claim vehicle? What is the vehicle by which you have the risk transfer as priority to the debt?
Want
Oh,
the shares?
an agreement.
Want the shares?
Okay, an agreement. Yes, that's fundamental.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that word.
What agreement?
It's probably secured by
type
the
of
shares.
agreement?
man.
It's a loan agreement.
Commitment letter, facility letter. Indemnity is, no, I mean, it's sort of.
Agreement.
Guarantee.
Guarantee, assignment, yes, but
They
what
have
types?
qualification of the
What are
shares.
the different types? You giving me the general class. I have a house. What kind of house? You have a 2-bedroom,
Residential.
1-bedroom. You have.
Okay.
With default type thing, or whatever you know.
They do it over the value of the shares.
Again, I like where you was going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's it right there.
Equity.
The value of the, well, clearly they must hold some, I guess the value of shares plays a part in the security that's being held. If it's a secured
I
debt.
like where you going.
You were like, where I
Stay
am?
there. Don't go nowhere else. Don't come
Alright,
up. Yeah, stay right there.
Right there.
Stay right there. Go and park for a minute. You know,
Okay.
like when you have a
You're coming.
hybrid vehicle.
They're coming.
You know, when the car on, you just have to double check.
Long day, long day. They're
Yeah,
coming, they're coming.
yeah. What are the factors or the
it says
fundamentals of governance? Can I send that out? Conformance and performance.
You sent to there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm available. Wait, you could have said that Friday,
I know.
Monday.
The funny thing is, that was in module 1.
I hated module one today.
I know.
Right?
Right?
It was the governance
But it says the proceeds from the assets.
So why would debt, what class of debt or what structure or vehicle within debt would have priority over preferred shareholders? How would preferred shareholders lose its placement? What did the debt do, like the Shawnee dive, to get the first place?
The liability.
Liability,
Liability versus equity.
liability versus equity, in what context?
In the context of the balance sheet. The
In the balance sheet, yes.
For the equity.
Give me the context. I like where you going. You're sounding right.
They have a claim, right?
Take a G shot. Wait, this is good. You all Google it yet?
I
No.
thought it was owned.
Not really.
Bonds are good.
Okay, fine. It's a liability.
I know this.
Can preferred shareholders be encumbered? Can there be a claim on a share, on the shares?
Yes.
What do you mean?
So if there is a claim on the shares,
They have to pay.
Yeah, so like they will then
They have to-
secure that.
wouldn't they
So
lose
they send it.
a certain,
They lose the
Equity or like a
priority.
share percentage.
they lose, they devalue their own priority,
Right.
Yes.
right?
Right.
But in whose concept? Whose contacts?
Good evening. Good evening.
There.
That'll be share.
Ultimate beneficiary.
Shareholders.
Yeah, that's shareholders.
So they won't have as much a percentage of stake
It'd
in
be
the
less
business.
if that's
In the agreement,
In the agreement,
to lay a claim against the preferred stock,
yes.
the vehicle or means to do that, raise the claim of the debt over the value of the preferred stock to the extent that the preferred stock now has a second level rating for payout versus the debt. That is the claim against it.
Securitization of debt over equity. Y'all making notes?
No? I don't
We're
know.
gonna want
We can work for you.
again.
Ah,
Again, you're
ah,
solve it.
okay. Let's go. It is B. Question 12. Which of the following is not a sovereign bond issue?
That's them. That's if I bought them
It's a bun, B-U-N-D.
That's a state
It's just
issue
a
bond.
bond.
That's a municipality.
Would have to be.
Oh, I feel good about this one. I got a little research on all the options, which is good. And what class would you put the German bond? Systemic or non-systemic risk?
Systemic.
Good.
Yeah.
Systemic.
Just reread.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. So, we got one class of vehicle for 11, which was why 12 was there, is sovereign. Your sovereign debt. I just said, we were talking about the claim and then I was asking what type of asset. Sovereign debt. Okay, it's the reason it's there, right after. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Basel 3 and 4 for the credit rating agencies, right? And what's happening to the credit rating agencies? What were the uniqueness of credit rating agencies prior to Basel 1 and 2? All kind of flipping through. Because we flipping, don't know the flipping.
What do you want? Half of them were external? I mean, what's your question? What do you like?
You close, the external.
Independent, more objective. I guess they have their own methodology for
And I'm looking for one keyword.
objective.
Objective, independent, their own.
They did their own thing.
They did their own thing, and what is that?
Creates, I
A
guess.
secondary block market is what?
Secondary black market.
Secondary or block market or ops market, underground, gray areas, financial synapse, whatever you want to call it.
Fraud.
How was your flight?
Oh, gangsterism. It was good. Thank you.
That's good. How you doing? Right. Unregulated. Yeah. So now, right? Basel 2, 3, 4, regulating them. We having certain disclosures, right? Because what they say matters, right? So, I can let y'all digest that one minute. Y'all Googling or y'all
I
taking notes?
Googling.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That was which module?
Prior to Basel, I'm very good. Yeah, the credit rating.
I can't think.
I can come back. I can come back to you. I can come back to you, and then you can tell me. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Number 13.
You going?
Yeah, we done gone. It's 2 minutes up.
So we
You gotta go to the
answer?
next question. Oh, it's A. It's A. The answer is A for.
Yeah, for 12 is 8.
I thought it was
Yeah, yeah, we was good with that.
Okay.
Yeah. What's 13? Which of the following bonds contain an embedded option that provides the issuer certain rights?
Callable, issuer calls bar. The purchase or puts bar.
Everybody cool with that? Uncallable bond falls under which class of investments?
I think so. Secure debt. Take priority over common shares.
We can work with that. I'm looking for something else. High risk, proprietary investment. What do we typically see in the market today? Dow Jones went up by a few basis points. Commodities, interestingly, went up. Crude oil, yeah. Y'all feel it at the gas pumps?
Yeah.
Anybody know why? Iran.
And Venezuela and Venezuela.
It could be volume trading and demand that could have pushed it up. So the callable bond is what class of investment that we see happening more today? Derivative, right? Right?
Yeah.
You know the answer. You know the answer. Right? Like I say, let's get over the fundamentals so we can start having the conversation. Alright? What do we see happening with derivatives right now? Leading market analysts will tell you what about derivatives? High risk? What are the emerging markets right now?
Emerging as a country.
Country, products and services.
Brazil.
Brazil,
All Latin America.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think China
China
moved to
kinda
matured now.
Yeah, they kind of matured in terms of their market footprint and placement. Africa? Japan, interestingly. What's happening with Japan? We see a lot of hedge funds, right? See a lot of hedge funds happening right now. And it used to be BVI, right? So where do we see some of the principal offices right now for some of these hedge funds?
Around these areas.
Emerging markets, think emerging. Think the first question. That's a stimuli to the next. Asia, right?
But not China.
Not China specifically.
Singapore.
Singapore is a core nuclei. I'm so excited that everybody's doing their reading. You're doing great. So we're looking at a lot of exchanges between the countries. So Asia being an emerging market right now. We're looking at a lot of stimuli coming from them. So keep your eyes open. Right? Eyes and ears. If you look at some of the principal and influential shareholders in the Caribbean, you will find that they are from those emerging markets. And there's a specific reason for that. One, we could say CRS, right? Yes? the deleveraging on the US dollar. Recently in the neighborhood with Singapore. Instability with the Brexit. Right? Talk about the trade wars. Right? Now it's WTO. Right? What about new developments from OECD? We ain't talking about Go Green no more. Because that was already, who was the driver for Go Green globally from the G7 countries?
No problem with that one.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. G7. G7 countries, Go Green. We don't know why we have hybrid investments. We don't know why we have hybrid vehicles, and electric vehicles.
France and Germany. They were the drivers, right?
France, yes. Germany came along. That is absolutely correct. That's perfect. And then they had a strategic alliance with Asia to provide manufacturing and hardware.
Yeah, but Donald Trump does that about.
However, don't we see high volume of Japanese vehicles coming into the Caribbean?
Mm-hmm.
What are we actually doing in those vehicles?
No, robberies and criminal activity.
What are we really doing?
Allowing them to go crazy.
Yeah. Putting on the defect, they have defect stuff on, yeah.
We're creating a market that they lost.
Exactly. So their market footprint has become predominant, right? And that's where the risk was. They were willing to take that risk.
Transfer the risk.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's where I was going.
Old vehicle.
So it's been an ultimate risk transfer. And who has been the country or region of concentration?
Caribbean.
You said it.
Yes, Caribbean. Yes. What's happening?
No one else is a viable option.
No.
At the moment, an open market, not limited by anything political or anything else.
We're not it's not a heavily regulated market, so.
Yeah.
And we're not
At the state stuff.
So what does all this mean, right? What does all this mean? What does all this mean in the context of our investments and the underlying structures and the mortgage rates?
It should mean that we should be growing. But
Oh.
Money going on.
Give me the growth stimuli.
Because money spending?
But we didn't make cars in the first place, so
Right.
you always can spend money on cars. It's just a matter of
we've
where.
increased
Money
imports,
spending.
which actually means that we're going in the direction of Mexico, the last question,
Yes.
versus growth, true growth, which would have been to be on the other side of the equation the way Canada was.
Yes.
But we've also provided an opportunity for more people to be able to afford cars.
Or say people
So
sell
money
cars,
spending
yeah.
again.
There's people selling them too as a business.
Interest rate go up.
What did it do to custom duties?
They re-
Increase.
they reduce some,
So, on hybrids.
Some
On
reduce.
electric cars.
So the tariff went up,
You talking about Japan?
tariff went down.
Yeah, slightly.
So
Not on those
Yes.
cars.
on Japanese cars?
Oh, sorry, you mean cars? Them-
On them,
Yeah, it went up, it went up on cars.
On them
But you can't import a car that's more than 10 years.
Yeah.
So there's some regulations.
So there's
recent
some
times,
level of regulation on
In
that.
recent times.
Electric cars, they think is like 25% hybrid, 25%.
Japanese, we buying electric cars from them.
Arby.
What is the
We're buying self-drive and hybrids.
Leaf is a doing.
How does this affect our financial landscape?
Boy, we're looking at
More money
it.
going out, could be
Now you scared me.
increased duties as money.
Money exporting,
Yeah,
there's a leakage.
Money going out,
we don't have nothing.
A little bit coming in, declare it.
so the fiscal policy
But taxation goes up.
was to increase the tariff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now what did it do to the retail sector?
It kind of,
Consumer loans,
yeah, kind of.
The But didn't they decrease
The
it?
interest rate,
It
what
was
about the
about
interest
Consumer
rate?
loans depreciated, and so too did sales of new vehicles, which
But
would
the
come
new
from organized
vehicles-
markets.
They went down too.
Yeah,
But when they go through this
Yeah, but they
budget in
went-
June, I suspect it'll go back up.
No, but I would say they went down because now the dealers seem to be pushing more the hybrid and the electric cars now.
Not necessarily, because based on what he said was the engine size was slightly smaller, so the cost for them to import it was less, and that was transferred to customer savings.
It's still 65.
But like a Honda, what you was paying almost 60,000 for, you're paying 43.
Okay.
So it sort of stimulates the economy and people purchasing and then buying slower
Adjustment
interest
in
rates.
market demand,
Yeah,
right?
the lower interest rates also assist too.
Hmm.
So I know.
So we have a huge supply, demand was low, reduction in price.
Thank you.
So how did it affect financial investments?
Slowed it down.
What happened in BISIX?
Oh.
Sleeping dinosaur.
Sleeping. Okay, what happened to our commercial bank fixed deposit rates?
Oh,
Nothing.
definitely. They're charging you money. They're charging you no other money.
Are they going up somewhat?
Like point
Yeah.
zero zero one.
And what was the reverse landscape impact within financial services?
I mean, the decreased interest rate.
Well,
Increasing
Negotiable
the loan
terms.
interest rates.
Decrease.
increase in loan terms, the maturities went up, maturities went higher,
The terms were
We just-
longer, yeah,
right?
and the
So
rates were lower.
rates were lower, on certain structures
Yeah.
Yeah.
and certain
That's the
behavioral
But everything
attributes and
negotiable
scorecard
Yeah.
elements, right? Right? Everybody stay your sugar levels are the right level. And what else? What happened? What happened? Negative interest rates?
Not here, but
Yeah.
abroad.
Yeah, they charge-
No.
Are we
way.
up? Is negative interest rates here?
Not to my knowledge.
I mean, if you
What-
start to build in your deposit fees, yeah. If you start to build in the cost of banking, you do have negative
Yeah,
interest.
negative.
Precisely,
Yeah.
right? That's our homogeneous impact to the sector with respect to negative interest rates. So if you don't have a balance of a certain nominal amount,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
did you get a fee?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We in the same country? I just making sure. So where are the investors running to right now? Right here in the Bahamas. What do we see? We got people preparing for retirement. We have an aging population.
Yeah, how you do? They die
Right.
now too.
Why is that? Why do we have an aging population?
Baby boomer.
Because people leaving the country.
People left the country.
They ain't coming back.
And then we relax exchange controls so to hopefully stimulate and so where do you put your money?
Ah,
Me and
under the
Mother.
mattress.
Under the mattress. No.
In the number
Put it in
account.
the account.
Credit union.
Put it in the account. I said, well, get
Where do
off.
you invest your money to get a sensible level of return?
Central bank.
Your risk tolerance, your risk acceptance. We know what's happening in the market. Where do you do it?
The BRS just put out 75 million today.
Yes, that's initial offering.
75 million at 2.6% for junk bonds. I don't understand that one, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And real estate.
So what's happening with the real estate? So we have some bit of risk versus return buoyancy, right? Mm. But why is it buoyant? How are the rates held? Anybody call Brea and say what y'all dealing with? No?
Demand.
Competition.
It's only a certain amount of money.
Fresh injection of cash? What is that for our country? Stimulus by way of
Quantitative easing.
where you come from?
If the government do it.
The
Yeah,
government.
you say the government do all
The
the
government
time.
borrowing.
Do it.
Foreign direct investment.
FDI.
New money is coming in,
Yeah.
right? Let's go, number 14. In contrast to forward contracts, more derivative stuff, right? Future contracts, which one?
Hey,
I was thinking B.
Definitely C.
No, no.
The same.
Yeah.
It's A. It's A. We're good. 15. What type of private equity strategy is most likely used to finance a startup company? Interesting. When do we typically see buyouts?
In the majority.
In a
When the company's going down.
Yeah.
Early on.
or,
They're not doing it now.
or if you could scale more quickly.
if you could scale more quickly, everybody understand that, right?
Well,
You want to explain, Jonathan?
If you have two, let's say, service providers providing the same service, and you can provide all of the service of both within the structure of one, then you could increase profit at the same time during a buyout. So everybody wins except for the employees.
Or you could scale to the point beyond your competition. If you have the sole footprint, then going from the concept of sort of not really a crisis re-engineering, but rather a re-strategic placement in the market. So you could have a leveraged buyout from the management itself, right, or certain shareholders to say, okay, we're going to have treasury stock, we're going to buy back, like a buyout or reverse buyout, like similar or synonymous to what
Royal Fidelity.
Royal Fidelity is one. Atlantis? Yeah? We still there. Yeah, in that age, we know what happened. I read about it. Yeah. Growth equity. When would growth equity be even relevant in the context of, let's say, a crisis resolution situation? Growth equity in a crisis. How does that even make sense, right?
No.
It depends on who holding the cash.
Precisely. Who got the money? I can let y'all look that one up.
What you make of the buyout of the dump in the same context of growth equity?
Buyout of the dump?
Yeah. The dump side. I see they put a new name up now when you pass. They can call it the dump site.
Well, it ain't on fire no more, so.
It has a proper name now that it has new owners.
Yeah, that's why
I think it's just management, right?
Just management, privatization, you know, in the hopes of an improvement in office. But, yeah.
So the government still owns it then?
no.
Okay then, so it again just management then, right?
Remember now,
I have
remember,
purchased, right? I could be, that's why I'm trying to.
there's still some, there's either ownership or there's control and influence.
Right.
So, we can park that one.
No, but I want to know the answer. Because
No, we can address it in a different way.
Nobody will buy that risk.
see, that's why I brought it up when you talked about growth equity, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, the only way I
Uh-huh.
would put myself in the middle of that
Right.
is if there was some prospect for growth equity.
Or
Recyclables.
if there was some prospect to layer and
Money,
integrate.
filter some money.
Right.
That's all about.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, I jumping off that bandwagon.
Sip,
I
stay
go on.
I can take a
Exit stage
G-shot.
left.
I can take a G-shot.
I thought that's what they use fusion for.
I know that was there.
I wasn't ready.
Exit stage left.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah, yeah,
messed
exit stage left.
Well, I don't know.
Stage left. 16. In commercial real estate investment, the amount derived from discounting future cash flows of lease and rental payments plus capital appreciation represents the value of.
Commercial real estate, discounting future cash flows. Real estate.
I would say asset.
Assets, if it's money, they're discounting
Equity.
plus capital appreciation. Okay, assets.
It's a 17. The type of bank that is exclusively owned by its members is.
Mutual.
There is no way. In the Bahamian context, what bank would that be? Let's switch this up.
Credit union.
Thank you.
Yes.
Don't do it.
But that ain't coming on the question, so like, what does that?
Oh, really?
Is it Bahamian Act?
And our banks are classified as what type of institution?
Commercial or private, isn't it?
Resident,
I'm looking at something
non-resident.
else. DSIB or GSIB?
What is it?
DSIB or GSIB?
All the bankers in the room can answer that one.
Write that one down.
What?
DSIB. It's an acronym.
Yeah, I thought so.
Then it's GSIB. You can Google it now.
Something international bank, domestic and global.
SIB. I thought you said SIB.
I can try and
Domestic, systemically important banks.
Oh, yeah.
Global, systemically important banks.
Yes.
There's certain banks, when they get fined, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, UBS, GSIBs,
Right.
right? Multinational,
Right.
all over the world, GSIBs, right? DSIBs, example,
Bank of the Bahamas.
Commonwealth.
Bank of the Bahamas, Commonwealth, exactly. So Basel has a certain type of treatment for the ops under DSIBs and GSIBs. You need to know the difference treatment between the two. Because the rules don't apply to each class of institution,
No,
right?
no.
Obviously, right? So if you see it in the question, you see DSIB, then you know it's a local, systemic, look at the country, and then you go from there. If you go GSIB, then you go from country of geographical origin, parent company, and go from there. Right? Yeah? Yeah?
Fidelity.
That's why I say it's 17, don't do it. 18. This one is nice. Form a pension plan in which the participant has some ability to determine how pension contributions are invested.
This is a very easy question.
Define contribution.
The contribution.
Define contribution.
A.
I made my best
A,
guess.
because I come out of it. C.
Yes, this is most relevant. So we're gonna go stage left on this one. But it's the DC plan, defined contribution, right? So who are financial advisors? How are you gonna structure these portfolios? Who are you gonna do them with in the Bahamas?
Kalina. Fidelity.
Who we call
Providence.
Okay,
Leno.
Leno,
Yeah.
Leno. Okay.
Pension.
How are they gonna structure the portfolio?
Yeah, but I could.
Depending on your propensity for risk and your age.
They're gonna consider, what's that?
The age of the employees or persons who.
The investment life cycle, the risk weighting on
Risk
your
tolerance.
age, your risk tolerance, your acceptance, the structure of fundamental investments that you would want, right? What's your strategic plan,
Right, who do you need
What's
the
your
money for, when
focus?
do you need it?
right? Where are brokers registered in the Bahamas?
Securities Commission.
Everybody's like, really? You asking where the brokers
What
at?
kind of broker?
Broker
Really?
dealers.
What are
What type of brokers?
Basics.
Yeah, you get insurance brokers and you get
Custom brokers.
custom brokers.
Broker dealers.
broker dealers?
Oh, okay.
Securities
Securities Commission.
Broker dealers.
Securities Commission.
Okay, okay. Yeah, y'all sharp. I gotta be specific. Pacific. I gotta be Pacific. Right. Okay. What are some of the critical factors relative to broker dealers in the context of international banks?
Where they could place that money.
Yeah,
Where
was
they
the
could
question
place
again?
pension
Yeah,
funds, what are the
client-
restrictions
client
on?
funds and segregated from company funds. That's the one big thing.
Yeah,
Onboarding clients too, with AML policies and all that.
yeah. But what is one core at the center globally, a main issue?
Remember you talked earlier about the relaxation of the exchange controls. I know that was a big issue because broker dealers would say they could place money and get higher returns in other markets. Whereas here we were restricted when we didn't allow for that to happen. So you had to place it literally in your local context, which had an impact on with the return, the rate of return.
Yes. And that was a sub point of the mean. The mean.
Yeah.
Risk transfer. Different countries.
You know, enterprise wires.
Broker dealer. Cross border risk. How do we know the broker dealers internationally are registered? How do we know that the laws and regulations allow, hence the relaxation between the exchanges allowed for the stimuli? Right? Eligibility of participants. Right? Registration and recording. Every country doesn't have a registrar. International business is inherently risky.
Yeah.
The lack of information, and how do we leverage the unknown or that risk associated with international business? Because our ability to make sound judgment comes from our ability to also have well-informed, accurate, timely information. And how are we able to achieve that effectively? Regulation, okay, MOUs, treaties,
Internal policies.
right? So when you think about investment risk, you can't just say, I want to buy Apple. Because the share's going up and it look good.
Yeah, we were before that.
Are Bahamians and are locally incorporated financial institutions eligible to participate in the purchase and exchange? Because where's your secondary market?
Right.
How is Bahamas Investment Authority engaged in the process? How is Central Bank? How is Securities Commission? How is everyone engaged? Where are all the players? Who are all the stakeholders?
Right.
Right? And then we had the conversation last week about global intermediaries. The market makers. We go back to the credit rating agencies. who validates all this information? We talked about our 3 lines of defense. That fourth, third, and fourth line being ultimate critical validation and verification. Right? You get the investment, you sign the contract, you have the commitment, you have debt as a priority of preference shares. Are preference shares considered in the new Basel consideration for regulatory capital? Interesting. What is the concept of preference shares?
They get paid first.
They get paid first. They get paid regardless. There's an obligation to them.
You have non-cumulative.
Yeah, you don't get it on a regular basis, but when you do pay out, you gotta pay me. Yes? So Basel now, 3, 4, is saying for regulatory purposes as a result of the crisis, because we realize now the problem was you were technically deleveraged to your obligations. So preference shares is carved out. It's only CET1. And then what's the impact of IFRS 9?
Locally?
I know.
Why do you talk like that?
Why? I know.
Yeah, translate.
Locally, internationally, all of it. I. Make sure we speak in the same language. Right? So all of these are critical. Adjustments to your balance sheet, cash flows. Right? Considerations for investment risk. You don't need material platforms. You don't need this expensive capital asset pricing model. Right? In the context of your financial landscape, what are your considerations? Right? So IFRS 9. Expected
Credit loss.
credit loss. Adjustment in your balance sheet. What do we expect to see in the commercial banks? Non-performing loans?
How are they expired now? Didn't the bank have to take them out or something?
They created, some of the structures created a special purpose vehicle to off-balance sheet manage those risks. However, when you now have higher risk weights on your balance sheet, what now happens?
Provisioning.
One thing happened to that, it crashes your whole balance sheet.
Turn it upside down, you deleverage, right? Provisioning is a result of the high risk weight. And so, more capital, but then you can't put more capital in, otherwise you need capital to actually lend out monies, right? Some working capital, we talked about that. Right, the working part. Hence your counter-cyclical conservation buffers. Go reading Basel, right?
Understanding is one thing, reading something.
That is true.
She shot.
Is that why a lot of, some of the commercial banks have closed some of their branches?
That's a different issue. We can talk about that though. So, why do we have a change in the footprint for a few of our institutions? See them with the Canadian banks? Yeah. You know? De-risking?
Lowering costs, lowering costs.
We talked about something in the very, very first class.
Technology.
Technology.
Outsourcing.
Outsourcing. That's what I was looking for.
That's the labor part. You mean that's the labor part in the sense of where everybody answering out of Barbados? But I'm
Why are you talking to people business?
because it affects me. I bank at 3 of them, and I talk to
okay.
people who are not Bahamians every time I call the helpline. Even when I call a number in Nassau.
I know.
That's a whole other
To
thing.
talk to somebody in Nassau, you gotta go through a peripheral Caribbean
And then
country.
they don't even want to transfer you.
Yeah, but that's their job. for you not to get to the person here.
That's not only unique to Canadian banks, I mean, international banks are doing the same thing, because I had an issue with Citibank the other day. I spoke to someone in India 10 times
Oh,
before I
wow.
got to someone in the US.
Oh, wow.
So it's not unique to
It's
Canadian
global.
banks.
It is.
No, it's clear.
Everybody is doing that to reduce costs.
So a global systemic issue on ops.
Why we don't?
But I mean, can we really only reduce this to labor though? Because like even in the Bahamas, you look at Scotiabank, they closed a lot of like, I think immediately of their Wolf and East locations that they've
But
been
the-
at for years and years. So there's no overhead in terms of even renting the building or just,
Yeah, it's not only labor though, it's operational. They're
Right.
looking at it
It's
from
not-
a
complete
holistic-
operation.
I don't think it's only
Right.
operational though. When you look at the high non-performing rate,
Yeah.
that tells you that you have maxed out your loan capability.
The market is going.
So there's no, if there's no one else to lend to, what's the point of having branches open?
but there's more people to lend to, probably not at the rate of profitability that they have historically. 'Cause there's a
Well, okay, when
lot
I
of
say to lend
unbanked people in
to, I mean within the
Bahamas.
risk profile and return that they
Right.
would like.
But right, and I agree with you, but I'm going back to your question
Yeah,
about
and that'll
what
lead
is the
to
impact
unemployment
to the financial statements of the banks, and that is why I'm saying when you have risk weights changing, their priorities are changing, which means they really care about you. I mean, maybe they not.
So the
did, but
cost
it
of
felt
doing
like they did.
business
It's higher.
becomes higher.
Reduce it.
Hence, what we're gonna start to see is more SCB applicants.
Could it be also too, that these banks have now moved into some of
Really?
the emerging markets?
Mhm.
Really?
So
I see that.
would they then
It's a
consider-
lagging indicator.
You mean that people do, so people will do their own thing? Like
Boutique financial services,
Yes.
asset management, funds,
Well, you gotta.
trust structures,
Yes.
small offices. You could drive out west, you could drive out east, central. You can see one or two people literally in there, and they will not be registrants of central bank.
No,
Some
but
cash.
would they be more or less catering to the local market?
What's your context of local market?
Corner bank already does.
Some cash.
Well, equity is, equity was one of them, like I said, they're now starting to cater to, I guess, that kind of offshore service, products and services to the local market. And,
Corner.
yes,
Corner bank,
corner,
Which
corner
was
trader.
also the main point that you mentioned, which was de-risking.
Yeah.
What would be the impact
You think
for
grand?
global compliance? Say, I mean,
Equity trading,
Maybe
bond
we
trading.
need run though.
For national
We need them run.
compliance.
That's the
What would be the
way.
impact on
That's
us
the
from,
best.
say, all of the
That's a good question.
regulatory bodies that look at us, and consider where we are. I mean, like Cayman and everybody else is dealing with whatever issues they have from global regulators and everything else. So I'm looking at all of these little pop-up places and recognizing that they're all unregulated financial houses,
Yeah,
institutions.
Yeah.
They don't even.
And the
why are you
Bahamas,
saying,
no
I don't know,
way.
why are you saying they're unregulated?
Sun Cash and those.
They're regulated.
They're regulated.
By central bank.
yeah, the regulator,
Regulated?
yeah.
They're
No,
fully
sometimes you
counted.
just let people finish their
No, sorry. I've been on that road.
No, but
People
that's,
think once you're small, because I ran a company too, people think
Yes.
once you're small, that
Yes.
you're unregulated, like you just woke up one morning and opened it. Like, and I find for smaller companies it's even harder,
It's worse.
right?
Yeah, it's
Because
more competitive.
yeah, no, when you go into the regulator, it's only you standing there, so they drill into you and what you learn and what
You gotta
school you've
know
been to,
everything.
and like, I mean, it's, you don't have no buffers to hide behind, you don't have an offshore shop, you know, to say, our compliance is in this jurisdiction, you know, even right down to what is your, fallback in case of a hurricane.
Yeah.
Like, we had to go out and get it, like two people, like, because you're not exempt from any of the regulatory requirements.
Can I say something? I don't think that people think that the company is unregulated because of their size. They think that they're unregulated because of what they're known to do and the clientele that they're seeing catering to.
Oh, no,
Because
that's
there's several clients that banks have turned down the risk rate of too high, DSL was too low, credit score was too low, haven't been on their job long enough. But they could walk into Easy Payday 242 and get $10,000 for $277 a month.
What?
Yep.
Really?
I just
They
showed
still
it up on my
regulated
phone.
Well, it's a different strategy though.
They know
regulated.
to do that.
But that's, I understand what you're saying, but that's also,
How they regulated?
Yes, they
Hence
are.
the
And they
credit
give-
bureau,
They
right?
give consumer loans
They
with
regulate it.
salary deduction.
Furniture Plus been doing that for years.
People do not question the regulation,
But
they emphasize, they question the
But they
regulation.
register
What
the
they can
security.
see.
Or the bank considering
Auto
downsizing, could it also be them thinking in the mindset of reputational risk and keeping branches open in certain districts of the
Yes,
country?
that's exactly what it is. Have you all read the most recent FSAP? The IMF report, Financial Stability Assessment.
No.
Look at that, please. FSAP. Look at that. Write it down. FSAP. FSAP. Financial Stability Assessment. Right? Have a look at that. A lot of the questions that you're asking right now, a lot of the observations, some of the discussions that we're having is surrounding all of that. Reputational risk, ops risk.
I have one more question. I don't mean to take
No,
over
no,
the
go ahead.
class, but
It's very good. This relates to investment risk.
do you get fearful from where you sit that the unbanked
But I home or what? Just saying, like, wait a minute.
at work, young men?
Oh, at work, okay.
Yes.
Okay, just saying.
Because it seems to me that, okay, there's a large portion of the Bahamas that is unbanked. That's number one, right? This kind of goes.
How did we address the unbanked issue?
Well, I mean,
What you mean?
How did we address the unbanked issue?
How did we?
How did we? The Bahamas, how did
we
we?
relaxed some of the requirements.
Some of the
of
accountability
license.
procedures.
Yeah.
Like the documents that they have to bring in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Accountability
Like
documents,
compliance,
relaxation,
right,
due diligence, boom.
identification, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But, so you're unbanked for that reason, but some people feel like the sector as it's set up just isn't relevant to them, right? So it's that portion that can't apply or can't be accepted, but there's a portion that ain't interested, period. And like, we were talking, when she was talking about the little shops that seem to attract a certain kind of clientele, right? Because, again, because of de-risking, the big banks or the major banks have a certain sector of the economy they don't even want to deal with, period.
So you have a petty cash relationship. It's kind of like what you're talking about. Literally, I just need money right now to do something. So I'm going to go to my Cambio or I'm going to go to my exchange house to just pass it through for me very quickly.
Yeah, because
Right.
they're owned by big institutions.
Right? So there's that. Then there is, okay, what I recognize is that I just, because of the advancement of technology and because of the need for full market disclosure, all emanating from much of what we talked about, IFRS changes, CRS, OECD, all these, VADF, all of these things, and FATCA, all these things, what we're seeing now is market disclosure, which was Basel III, which is why I keep saying you have to read Basel. Read it, soak it in, take it. Not in certain places. Just absorb, and you'll realize as you go, as the financial markets change, you'll realize that Basel was talking about these things happening, right? But it's just a change in the landscape.
Right.
It's really a change in the landscape because of the need for market disclosure, because of the need now for us to demonstrate a sufficiently sound reputation that we want to ensure. How are the family islands being managed? Where is the cash flow coming from? Right? You know what we dealt with historically with those sponging and other shipwrecking and bootlegging and all that stuff. So we're out of that era. We're in the era of information. Right? So that's important. So let's move right along. That's a good discussion. Don't forget FSAP. Right? That's very important. So I can ask you all about that next class. So 19, an investor attempting to replicate a price-weighted index would hold an equal what?
B.
Full number of units, shares of
A.
security.
It's price rated.
Price rated.
B.
No, see?
C.
Okay, it's C, so I'm gonna let y'all look that, I'm gonna let y'all look that up.
Saying it in my mind.
Yeah.
He's saying 11.
Price weighted index, it's price weighted
influenced by
index.
stock.
Price weighted index, you know, the stimuli with that is stock, obviously, so. Right, but I want you to read a little further into that, right? 20, from the standpoint of taxes, investors will benefit from.
D, realizing gains by stock or purchases as opposed to receiving the same gains as dividends.
How is this relevant in the Bahamas? How is this relevant globally, corporate context?
You defer your,
Should we do the
your
upgrade?
profit. No.
How is this relevant?
You're taxed when you take, you're taxed when you take the
As a risk,
profit,
you
right?
know. Close that.
And say,
Cancel. I don't realize we purchased as opposed to receiving.
okay, good.
Because they get taxed on them.
Yeah, you get taxed on dividends and capital gains.
So, they, yeah,
Eight-
so
eight
if they
makes sense
realize,
to you.
so if they realize that by stock purchases, then you don't get, but isn't like.
So what is this really asking? Let's keep it simple for right now.
When are you taxed less?
Yeah. How do you avoid
Avoid.
tax?
Reduce the amount of tax you pay.
Tax avoidance, tax evasion.
No, I say
No,
Mitigate the
evasion is what you
payouts.
can do.
Right.
Shouldn't do.
So what do you, why not? No, it's a vehicle.
From the standpoint of the rate of return, investors would benefit from what?
Lower taxes. Lower
Sally.
taxes,
From the rate of return.
Rate of return. Being.
Realizing.
Any opportunity where my return does not actually cost me tax.
So they say.
Yes.
No benefit
Right.
there, it'd be
When you're
Where the rate of return is either equal to the standard deviation or it's higher.
Right.
So yes, it is B, but I asked you a different question. Right? So that's when we were talking about Markowitz theory, efficiency frontier, and getting into some of the capital asset pricing models. Yes? I know.
All of them.
Calculation. Oh boy, what you're dealing with.
What's that?
At which stage in the trading process is cash exchange for securities between parties in a given security? What's the mean settlement time period?
T plus three.
T plus 2, because that has changed.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
T
three.
plus 3.
T plus 2. T plus 2. That's important. Because when you're looking at liquidity, remember I tell you, isn't liquidity ain't just about having the money. Timing, maturity, risk transfer, ability to cover obligations, make sound investment decisions. The money got to be there. You can't just be thinking and strategizing all the time. Right? Okay.
So eight? I just want to hear you say it correctly,
I
right?
think you'll have 19 wrong.
Here's the answer.
I think I'm also-
C is the answer for 19. 22. A consumer pays off a car loan held by a bank with which he has no other business. Which of the following is the most appropriate document management practice for the bank to follow?
C.
You had to show me which documents to retain.
That's a trick. Depends on.
And you can't return all the
Yeah.
C.
So what's the time frame for Document retention.
Five.
From
Completion of the
stringent than
transaction.
others.
What's the regulatory requirement?
7.
The 5 to 7 years.
I know, FDR is central bank money is.
FDR is 5, but best practices say no, we use 7.
City
Minimum.
7 for us.
Good practice. Could make space.
So transactions, FTRA is 5. Best practices has been.
7. Okay.
For dormant accounts, it's
7.
10. For
10.
dormant?
Going to
Alright,
10.
7 is when
10.
you give the money to the bank. Okay, my bad.
Oh, you
Yeah.
give it to the bank.
7, you
Yeah.
transfer it to.
From central bank.
no, let's go back.
Uh-huh.
So 7 years, it goes into dormancy with the institution, right? Then it's retained with the central bank, which will be transferred and then retained,
How long y'all keep it?
and that is done up to 10 years
After the 7?
after the 7. And then now the regulation requires it to be transferred
To who?
to the Treasury.
Sovereign
So when you're trying to get that money
Look
to
it up.
Treasury.
Look it up.
So it's 7 plus
It's the
10 or
same
7 plus
fund.
3?
It's 7
plus 10?
plus the 10, so you actually have about 17 years to claim.
Okay,
Hence,
that's sort of the
Why?
deficit. When you're trying to find the Treasury.
How much money y'all transferred last year?
Is that public knowledge?
It should be.
is.
You have to be
Is it?
transparent.
is it really?
I know.
Yeah,
Did y'all go on the central bank website?
Only foreign exchange.
Read the
Only
Is
foreign
that full
exchange.
disclosure? Is that full disclosure?
You have it right here. How much y'all?
Which currency is it?
Let me take off my eyelids. Turn off
I
the
don't know when you're
camera.
transferring how many y'all will now. When you're transferring.
No, look it up, it's public knowledge.
Yeah, that's
It's
sort of the
public knowledge.
deficit.
And the regulation, you have to look at the regulation. The regulation tells you exactly when it's transferred and at the point, and there's
20
certain
years.
dollar value tiers.
That's the
Right.
that's the
Should I go
disaster
to that
relief fund.
one?
You know that, right?
That's going.
But you got 17 years to,
Yeah, you
17 years. Do you realize within that time and before the regulation, you had the central bank trying to maintain leverage and management of those funds? And then keep in mind, you could imagine an unlimited management of a portfolio where you have to now, if someone comes to claim after 20, 50 years,
Yeah.
you have to justify the market value.
What if you're 1
Right?
years old when it happens?
But what is
So they don't get it.
what has
That's the
happened?
price.
What has
That's the
happened in
price of
some?
transfer?
What has happened in some instances, you had to get the principal at certain dollar value points, right? What system? Nobody. Talking about 20, 50 years ago.
How much money you talking
Who was
about?
even expelled?
How much money you
It's not even just.
And remember, there wasn't certain structures. You're talking about like there wasn't like a mandate to say, okay, and this should be compounded semi-annually or annually.
Yeah, there's
Or,
no contract.
you know,
Which currency did you want it in?
$3.
What if you got it from an international bank in euros?
It's still gonna be those.
Still
They
convert.
don't maintain the currency.
Still convert.
And then when they did the regulation the other day, there were a number of persons who had issues because if you didn't have the stuff to claim your money, you couldn't get it, and then that went into dormancy, and then gone
Yeah.
again.
And then there was a knowledge transfer with certain employment, whereby because I was there for 20 years, I knew certain relationships and know certain people. So when they came in and certain documents were not available, it became an issue. I just started working in 3 years, boss. I don't know. I don't.
So
What you
there's
talking
also the
about?
risk
Where's
of
your ID?
transfer. Like say a Bahamian was living in Europe, say 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
accumulated all this money, sell their house, wanna come back home, and they're getting ready to transfer the monies back here. They realize, well, geez, all of this money getting taken from me just for me moving back home. So that's also a risk as well in terms of
Yep.
exchange.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So our answer is
It doesn't give up.
C.
C. 23. Which of the following is not a factor to consider in a document classification system? B. 24. The possibility that a portfolio manager.
You just give us the answer.
Yes.
Time going, eh?
No, not really.
Yeah, okay. I know big issue.
My tolerance for that question. It's okay. It's okay. 24. The possibility that a portfolio manager will lose money because the bond valuation model he uses is flawed is an example of or
Investment risk.
or
I would say all of the above. I was looking for
or
Market risk.
or
reputational risk. No?
I
Based
come back
on
to
the,
you.
no, I'm saying, because the public wouldn't know that.
Or
Credit.
It's like against average rate. Why is this model so
or 25. So it's A. A limitation of the value.
So A?
Yeah, it's A. So that's the point. In the absence of some of the other critical factors that could have gone into this scenario, when the only question I was asking you is what risk could impact bond valuation? Because you could have told me currency risk, country risk, political risk. You would have told me so many things. Right? Right? That's the main thing. $25, a limitation of the value at risk approach VAR. Getting there. We getting there. Come in. Oh, they scared. They... oh. Approach. The measuring risk is that it fails to specify
The maximum.
Yes. We can go over that quick. Slide over that one.
See.
Yeah, we can slide over that. We can glide. Go on cruise control. 26, a fund manager does not compare his portfolio with the benchmark in terms of
Fees.
Fees. No?
Performance too.
I would say composition.
Fees, I say fees.
Okay, yeah, fees.
Yes, fees.
what else don't fund managers benchmark? What's not benchmarked? What don't we benchmark in management of portfolios?
Benchmark risk.
We are managing the same portfolio. BGRS. I have a volume and everybody have a volume. Let's say we have the same volume because the market thin. So everybody going out because ain't nobody here. Right? So the footprint change and then some branches close. Right? So what don't I benchmark? I will benchmark performance. We got the same thing. I will benchmark composition, BGRS. We perform the same way, okay. We got the same composition, okay. We ain't gonna do fees. My fee different from yours. What else we ain't gonna do? Same fees, commission, same class. What else we won't benchmark? How do you constitute a relationship in this portfolio context?
Contract.
We won't benchmark our constitutive structure. So, my agreement versus your agreement. I'm not gonna benchmark that, right? And then constitutive structure could granularize into indemnities, maturities, and all of the other classifications within the context of the portfolio. Right? Risk transfer, insurance, all of these things. Okay? Yeah? And then there's ops risk factors. Because what is ops risk? I was hoping that was a trick question.
I thought it was.
So I'm gonna get a G-shot while Operational risk. What is operational risk?
The risk that your operation will fail.
That is true, exactly. And let's continue it.
Yeah, based on your internal systems, you have human error, you have external factors.
Okay, so we know what ops risk is. So I won't benchmark the op risk factors,
Yeah.
right? I won't. You bought your BGRS, the primary issue is from the Bahamas. But you in the UK, I in the US, this one in Australia, the next one elsewhere. So fees is one thing, but my cost is different. My cross-border consideration is different. My compliance factors are different. Right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta come out the box. Come out for a minute. Alright? We getting there. 27, a fund manager's alpha. You getting there. Is that part of the fund's return that can be attributed to?
The market.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? We can slide over that.
Why? Oh, yeah, give it back. What is slide? What are the sliding about?
It's skill.
Yeah, it's skill.
We can slide though.
Okay.
We can slide. We can just put slide next to that. Yeah. 28. Which of the following is considered an institutional investor?
You're treated as an institutional credit investor.
Answers B. 29.
Plenty sliding.
Diversification will not help reduce a portfolio's why?
It's inherent. It's inherent.
Okay, I can slide. I can slide out. 30. Compared with passive investment management, active investment management will involve
Tracking the benchmark.
I would say timing.
Could be timing too. Market timing.
Market timing. Let's go. Questions 2. What? 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 Investment liquidity risk questions too? Mm-hmm. Some people get it, some people don't. Risk tolerance is the degree of variability in investment returns that an investor is willing to withstand. So you have aggressive, moderate, and conservative risk tolerances. The key here is in the red. It's important to know that, right? So aggressive, this means these people have some kind of market knowledge, right? So they're willing to take the risk. These are the people when they come up to you for a loan, when they come up to you to manage their portfolio, they kind of already know. This is what it is, this is my risk, this is my tolerance, these are structures that I would like to have, this is how I would like for my considerations. I'm willing to take this kind of risk, and then we're in the wealth cycle. Age-wise. Who would that be? Mm-hmm. Why are we flipping pages?
30.
Are you looking for the slide? It right up here.
30 and up.
Moderate.
They savvy.
Yes, moderate. And their age. And what did I say about the age? That was critical for the investment life cycle.
They need stability, so they're not too risky.
Time horizon.
Time horizon, which
They
Maturity.
need their money now.
they have the ability to
Take the risk.
take the risk, but I said something else. To remain buoyant,
Oh, boy.
to preserve principal wealth. Right? Yes? Aggressive risk tolerance, moderate risk tolerance. Okay, it's moderate. You got some people like that. Right? We kind of in between. I want some risk, but then I want too much, and I want some, and then I want. So it's like kind of one fit in, one out. You know some shaky people like that?
Yes.
Balance.
Mm-hmm. What type of investment will fall under moderate risk tolerances? What would be good?
Like the preferred share.
Say again?
The preferred share.
Mutual funds, preferred shares, yes, there's a certain class of people for that. Yeah, that's good though. Right, so wealth cycle, who falls there?
40-year-old.
Yeah, put it.
People conservative.
I think so.
No, not necessarily. But in the top, the
Who
prime
falls
minister,
there?
family, you know.
Where we
No,
In
so
moderate?
moderate or conservative?
Moderate,
Yeah, moderate, yeah.
ain't going nowhere.
Like a married person, married couple.
Middle-aged people.
No kids, yeah.
Middle-aged.
Just put them in the middle, just middle age.
Yeah.
Leave it in the middle.
You get that? You get that.
Leave it in the middle. Risk neutral or risk acceptant?
Retirees. Where we at? Oh, sorry, I thought it was on the last one.
Yeah, we're gonna go there. Conservative risk tolerance, right? So you will hear a lot of people in pension discussions.
Yeah.
Okay, I want a conservative portfolio.
BGI.
However, we hear from GSIPs, the use of the term.
Take that.
Okay, so we hear from the GSIPs that given the financial shocks that we're experiencing now and possible deflation on global exchanges and the ability of return, we prefer to have a conservative portfolio.
Yep.
Right?
Bonds.
Bonds, sovereign bonds, government bonds, equities,
Not too much. Blue chip.
It depends, with blue chip.
blue chip,
Yeah.
high investment grade,
Yeah.
S&Ps, Moody's, Fitch, yeah. Long-term, short-term, classification,
I think.
and high investment grade, but long-term, something wrong with the country. No?
Short term. Not too
Short-term,
long.
Short-term.
Or medium with those.
risk averse. Familiarize yourself with those terms. This could be just a quick memory point. Something nice to see. Key here, high risk, high reward. Right? Go ahead and often, right? Is that necessarily true today?
Yeah, in some cases.
Yeah.
So the CEO of BlackRock, Reuters,
New York.
top global financial institution, brokers, right? You know what they said? Given the degree of uncertainty in the market today, and when we consider the fact that it is unlikely for there to be comfortable levels of returns for investors, it is more appropriate right now to consider investments in a tier where they are supported by appropriate regulation, controls, and that preserve principal wealth. Let's read. Let's read. So you have CEOs, you have Basel now requiring CEOs, top executives, to not take these special bonuses. Anybody remember when IFRS started to have all of the market disclosures? There was a question about salaries. Anybody remember that? It became a big deal, right? So it's now about what's my ROE for hiring you? So, trade-off. We talked about that. We talked about that a lot of time. But this is the key. Psychological and economic factors. So I want you to go through these terms. And there's a few psychological factors, much of what we already discussed. So the good part is we're going through the slides and you don't realize we're going through the slides. So as you read it, a lot of it will kind of make some sense. So what do you think psychological is?
There we go. Or how you perceive something.
So consumer sentiment, right? So you have a lot of IPOs where people say, oh, that's a good deal, let me go run and get that. Right? Then you have a lot of people, man, I ain't really sure, you know, I ain't really trying out. Fear of loss, optimism. It's working for some people, so let's try it. Overconfidence. Man, I guarantee, man, I done been to the meeting and this making sense. Right?
Tanya, in careful. You saying something like gold?
That thing they're talking about everyone investing in when you get a new card. You didn't know that?
I have some.
You stand?
So this is what we have a lot here in the Bahamas. Consultancy effect. Right? We ain't no financial advisors. Where? For what?
I gotta pay extra.
No, you gotta bring them when they out to lunch.
I can just call Jonathan. Jonathan, did you see this thing in the market? No, because y'all can say, Central Bank say.
Jermaine, you don't believe we have a lot of the herd behavior here too?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Gee. Gee, we actually have, and we have like a national sort of like riot when the herd behavior is impacted. Like, why you cause us to lose our money? Why you shut the operation down? Herd behavior is also in a different context too, because we have a lot of homogeneous products and services. Remember the phone card business?
The 99-cent breakfast.
99-cent breakfast,
Noisy.
fish fry, churches, apartments, liquor store.
Salon there.
Where's the innovation?
Coconut water.
I can't understand. I'd be upset. And you was just here last week. Where you going? Y'all know some of them used to put water in the coconut water, right? You ain't get it? Listen to me. I was so risk averse to that happening to me that I told them pour that out in my face. Let me see that. So you'd be like, pause, see right here, this is ready for
the difference. It's lighter.
Yeah, the fluency of it.
Okay.
The taste so. Oh, definitely.
I'm sorry, I never
Yeah, when you're not using good water, you use water.
That's scandalous.
Demand and supply.
Yes.
$25.
So there is a risk when you want it quick. So your market timing cause you
Energy of
To get a quarter a gallon.
Wow.
10 teaspoons of sugar.
How many of y'all buy additives for the gas?
I was just about to say, that sounds like the gas.
Whenever you
Stuff in the
filling
gas.
up your gas tank, you're supposed to put an additive.
Only when they service like that.
Only when you mean as in the gas treatment?
Gas treatment or active, yes. Yes.
Every time you fill it up?
Yes.
Every week?
Every time you fill up.
But don't fill up.
Me too, only when I serve.
Use them type. She sound like them type. But it's call the husband and say, I don't know why the car sound like this. Come get it.
I leave it on the side of the road.
You just leave it.
They already say don't fill up.
Only thing I respond to
That is the nutrition. That's the vitamin for the car.
No, that is alcohol in the
Notice. Let's do this now. Let's do this assessment now. Okay. Go on notice, because I know we is catch the special when you're traveling for some of us that just recently returned back. Right, because the weather was very good yesterday. I was just driving from the west, and I was like, boy, there's some good traveling weather. I said, boy, them said, must see land, and I saw the plane land. I said, oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I was
I will travel by boat.
But the thing is this though, the US, the gas in the US, you don't notice that don't burn as much?
No.
You could be driving all over the place. You drive sawgrass mills, and come back up this way, go this next place, 103rd, go to 10th, talking to people business, and that's what is happening.
The tires, the road,
Everything
the
new
car,
road, yeah, man. They perform.
You're not stopping
It's
as much.
two to several factors.
But gas does have a factor.
However, I like what you said. I like what you said, because so if we know that there are certain deficient components to the optimum performance of the vehicle, but there is a factor that we have control over, then why don't we use it?
Why is it sold in the gas?
I do not want to see
Yes, they won't go on the lot, they won't
All right,
say.
I'll-
You find out by the case
They won't
then.
say they being on the lot.
No.
Yeah,
You do it?
The additive only costs
Do you do it?
I buy
$5-6 a
I
bottle.
buy it from by the case from Wims. My family has owned or operated probably 8 gas stations since I was born. Put the additive in your gas. I finished that.
Oh,
What is the name of it?
Every time.
What is it called?
A gas treatment.
Gas, yes, like you
So
gas.
that's the only
Lucas,
bottle?
Lucas,
Lucas is the best.
Lucas,
That's the best.
gas treatment, just Google it. If you all don't Google one thing,
Just one. How much you put in here?
If you
One
put
bottle.
No, it'll tell you how much fuel it treats.
yeah, it tells you
It tells you how much fuel it treats.
Question.
Just a question.
Uh-huh.
So by using that, and you and Jonathan,
Mhm.
what's the difference do you see? Because you did an
Yeah.
analysis
It's a performance
just now
risk.
with,
For not having it. For not having it.
If you
Not doing it over many years, is it worth doing it now?
yeah, with the vehicles here
Can you reverse
compared
it?
to the vehicles
I
that
have a
you
new vehicle, so.
That's like
driven in
$3
the
for
US.
them, man.
What is the difference? in terms of-
Man, wait.
Think about it as preventative maintenance as opposed to trying to fix it on the back end.
Yeah, your fuel injectors,
Injectors stay clean.
right?
Yeah.
They stay at its optimum performance, right?
So do you
Fuel
find that you
inject-
use
So what about the gas
Yeah, you
filters?
burn
Yes,
less.
you
You burn less.
You burn less,
burn
yes,
less.
yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not offset enough
Yeah.
the cost of
Yeah.
putting that in your car, in terms of how
They're
much
like
does
$8
a
a
fuel
bottle,
additive cost?
That's
What's
why
the question?
Jonathan said by the
Like,
case.
how much does a fuel
How
additive?
much does it save
How
you?
much women
No,
sell the
how much
case
does
for?
it cost?
John?
No,
save
to
you?
to
That's the
purchase
question.
it.
How much does it save you?
It's like $5.
So if you get Lucas is $8.
Yeah, if
The price is inelastic.
Jonathan, you get it from Wims or Cartwright?
What are
Wims and
what are you talking about?
Inelastic for them.
Hold on, wait now. $5 every time you fuel up, right?
Every
So
week.
everyone,
$5 every week.
every week, right? So
Right.
that's $20,
Right.
right?
Right.
So weekly, say again?
$5 a gallon of gas.
Hold on. Hold on,
That's what you
right?
make
So
it
wait.
saving if you use it.
Versus now, when you hear the clack
ding,
clack
ding,
and the
ding,
boom
ding,
boom,
yeah.
right? And then you gotta pay, you gotta
Engine is knocking, that's
you
what's
gotta
happening
pay
there.
someone
$50 to
just
trying.
$50,
I'll try it, let me
$60
see if it makes
just to
it better.
diagnose
For
it.
diagnostics.
So I would not
I'll
be
try.
Okay.
See if it makes it better.
You're buying no guarantee.
Oh yeah, we
But
do
you're
have
not, you have to be empty. Then you put that additive.
Oh, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
That's
So
what
pull up when the gas light
Once you get the gas treatment, it's gonna tell you how to do it. It's right on the bottle. So you
I don't.
So that's the first thing you put in before you put
the gas
My nephew,
lamp.
that's my nephew, yeah.
can put it,
Okay,
you can put it in
I was
before,
just
you
with
can put
Adam
it in
yesterday.
after. But ultimately, you want to have that gas treatment in there each time you pull.
No, Miss Trying, thanks for that tip, man. I got it.
Each time you pull up.
I do not like that.
I put it back to you.
I tried it.
I didn't forget you. But you all get it, right?
Yeah.
So keep in mind, so your vehicle is your investment.
Yes.
So how do you, in the Bahamas financial context, right? How do you in the Bahamas, given the factors that you're faced with, how do you at least preserve that investment? This is what you have, right? So how many of us, right? How many of us get the tires rotated?
I rotate my own tires.
How many of us? So that's the tire rotation.
How often do you rotate your tires?
Every service.
Every time you service.
Every time.
The service ain't just oil,
I used
air,
to.
And fuel services, oil and fuel filter.
You better believe that.
Oil and fuel filter. That's it. Oil and air filter, sorry.
That's it.
Yes,
Do you know your spark plugs play a real major role?
absolutely.
If you get platinum, we use platinum.
No, I get platinum. Every 5 years, that's it. And that's money.
And then thing I'm doing, use ceramic brakes on your car too.
Yeah.
Ceramic brakes.
I
We're going over performance
This
risk tonight,
is
people.
a whole new world, right? But that is just like financial services. Listen, you gotta get it. You gotta get it. Like for real.
I know someone has brand new BMW from Executive Motors. The car is
Listen.
open and she never shows.
It will, listen, the lack of information will cost you. The lack of information will cost you. This kind of information is available to
I'm
you.
trying to deter her from doing that.
Market data, consumer sentiment. Basics put stuff out there all the time. How much times I told you all to read? Pull up the articles. The information is out there. You have to read it in order for you to be able to apply. Right? Now, I can tell you, a lot of people, do you know if you service your car well, the insurance companies could tell and they could actually lower that rate, apply,
If it's comprehensive.
that beta, we getting now.
They did.
Other than age?
They
Wow.
They can tell. Started up for me, Blaze. Clank, clank. Oh. I just said. Don't do it. I'm serious. And it's the simple stuff.